Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Make It Simple TV. I'm Heather Porter, one of your co-hosts. Now, in Make It Simple, my other co-host, Andrew McCauley, and myself bring in our inner circle of experts from all over the world, and they're going to share some great life and business lessons with you. So, Andrew is just jumping on right now. I see him right there. There he is, and I'm really excited about this guest because I know that Andrew and this guest have been on the road together and have spoken at some of the same events, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those interesting stories here momentarily. Before I introduce him, I'm just going to see if we can hear Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Are you on?
Hi, Heather. Can you hear me? It's been a
Yes.
crazy day, but I'm finally here, and I'm looking forward to having a chat to our guest. I haven't spoken to him for a few months, and I'm looking forward to catching up with him. So exciting stuff.
All right, so I'm going to introduce him. So on today's episode, we have Dan Safkow. Dan Safkow. I just asked you your name, Dan. Here I am butchering it. Dan's business background includes over 20 years of marketing. He's been self-employed for the past 9 years in the areas of sourcing, product development, video marketing training, and recently he launched his first business-to-consumer venture, I Make the Case, an iPhone case manufacturing design company. Wow, that's pretty cool. That leverages e-commerce, the handmade movement, and crowdsourcing. Now, formerly, Dan has been the creative director at BDS Marketing, designing promotions for Fortune 500 companies like Disney, Panasonic, and Canon, and a trainer at Ultimate Internet Boot Camps, and that's where you guys met. So welcome to the show, Dan.
Thanks, Heather. Good to see you again, Andrew.
Cool. Now,
Hey,
before we
hey,
get...
Dan.
Go ahead.
Good to see you too.
Cool. Before we get started, Dan, what we love to ask all of our guests is basically how you got to where you are today. So if you would love to just share a little bit about your journey and then what you're doing, what would you actually say to somebody if I came up to you and said, Dan, what do you do these days? How would you describe what you do?
Yeah, well, thanks, Heather. Well, I've had an interesting journey. As I mentioned, I spent about 20 years working for marketing agencies. One of them for 13 years, and working for an agency is a grind, and it's maybe a young man's game too. Either you need to be the owner of the company, or maybe you got to go start your own company, and that's what I did, kind of burning out of that occupation. But I always had an entrepreneur spirit, and in fact, that unique skill set is what made me so valuable to the marketing agency. Is I was able to be an entrepreneur there, but finally mustered up the courage to start my own business, and that was a promotional products company. I was just putting logos on caps and pens and things like that, not because I had a passion for that business, but it was an easy transition, and I knew that would lead me to whatever would be next, because as soon as I started my promotional products company, I had a lot of marketing friends who would buy the stuff from me, so I was able to support myself right from the get-go. Well, in the last 9 years, promotional products led me to preloading and customizing iPods and MP3 players for speakers and trainers. That led me down the path of meeting Andrew and Alex Mondosian and others, and attending a lot of seminars, and eventually becoming a seminar speaker, while still maintaining the custom iPod business. And just in the last 2 years, after doing really well with custom iPods, the bottom dropped out of that market because people stopped buying iPods because of the smartphone killed the iPod. Well, I still had equipment and infrastructure to do production with my laser engraver, and I had the fulfillment aspect of it down to a science. So rather than start something new, I thought, well, what can I do that still leverages all these great resources that I had? And I said, well, if the cell phone killed the iPod business, then I need to be in the cell phone business, or at least the cell phone accessory business. So I started importing bamboo cases from China. Here's one that I'm about to ship right now with a picture of a little fox on it. So what I do is sell onesies, bamboo iPhone cases, on platforms that you may have heard of, like Amazon and eBay and Etsy and a lot of other websites. And I'm really kind of teaching myself as I go along, because e-commerce is relatively new to me. However, I can leverage all the expertise that I accumulated by attending all those internet marketing conferences the last 6 years. So I've got a running start, so I can jump into Amazon, eBay, and these other platforms and beat most of my competition right away. And I'm really enjoying it, and even more than I thought I would. I tried, I would say somewhat unsuccessfully, to be an internet marketer, and I don't know what the resistance or I had all the knowledge, but there was some resistance there. But I find that I really love selling, making, producing tangible products. So I found something that agrees much more with my creative spirit and my form of selling.
Hey Dan, it's good to have you on the show. And I know when we were together at the Ultimate Internet Bootcamp and traveling around teaching internet marketing stuff there, you were the person that was teaching a lot of video, YouTube stuff, and then as that evolved, you got into Google Hangouts. You're one of the first people that I remember really getting into Google Hangouts a lot and helping other people get into Hangouts as well. Are you still using Hangouts and video marketing to help you with this business right now?
I'm making a few videos here and there, Andrew, but I haven't yet begun to leverage exactly what you're talking about, because for my future, I receive a lot of fulfillment from my sourcing and manufacturing business, but I think all of us, and Heather and yourself demonstrate this very well, that we also need to live into a larger purpose, and that is teach others, share our expertise. So that's going to be the next evolution of my business, is now that I have an expertise within e-commerce, within Etsy and handmade, that I can start teaching others. So I'm going to loop back around now and dovetail those things, my marketing experience, my training experience, as well as my production experience, and teach other Etsy-preneurs, other people venturing into e-commerce, how to get there faster, better, and easier. And I'll be using Google Hangouts when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that's a great skill to have, especially now that e-commerce platforms are everywhere. You know, Etsy's popped up on the scene, and as you said, you've got Amazon and iTunes and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of places for people to sell, and a lot of people buying online. So I think it's an important thing that people need to know, is if they've got some tangible products that they want to sell, then knowing how to use those platforms is key. And I think there's a lot of overwhelm that happens with people, especially when they think, wow, I've got to sell something online, but I have no idea how to set that up. I think I've got to have a website, I've got to have social media, blah, blah, blah. So I think you should do pretty well with that sort of education, because there's not a lot of it out there that I've noticed.
No,
I do want to touch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on, sorry. One thing I do want to touch on is your...
Go ahead.
Bit of a delay. One thing I do want to touch on, Dan, is that you said your creative side, and you're one of the most creative video makers I know. I know the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge just happened, and I got to love your video. I think one of my favorite ALS Ice Bucket videos around was your video for that challenge. So we may even be able to stick that on the show notes. But how important is that creativity to what you're doing right now?
Well, it's very creative. Inside of Etsy, there's a lot of artists, and Etsy is not my most profitable platform, but it is the one I enjoy the most because I'm surrounded by other creatives. So if I'm on Amazon or eBay, I may be the most creative person in the room. If I'm on Etsy, I'm not the most creative person in the room, and I like that. I'm not an artist. I'm a creative marketer, and whether the creativity is applied to your art like an artist would, or the creativity is applied to your marketing, and that's what I mostly excel at. Having some creative aspect of your business not only will help you beat the competition, but it makes it a lot more fun. A lot of my days begin with a blank slate that I'll start out in the morning, and I'll create a few more designs, and that's the best part of my day, is being able to create something. Or often it's collaborating with somebody. Somebody will come to me with an idea and say, how can we get this on a piece of bamboo wood, and we'll work on it together. So anybody that's watching this that says, well, I'm not creative. Well, if you can collaborate with somebody, like the example that I just shared, well, that is forced creativity. So even if you don't think you're creative, that element of collaboration will amplify whatever little creative bone you have in your body, and you will produce creative results.
Nicely said. So Dan, what's one resource, tool, or app that you just simply cannot live without right now?
I would say iTunes. And the reason for that is I, like probably you and everybody else watching this, feels like there's not enough hours in the day, and we would all like to learn more. Well, most people listening will think iTunes. Well, what does music have to do with this? I don't use iTunes for music. I use iTunes to continue my education and to turn dead time into learning time, because we all have more hours than we think we do. And just through listening to podcasts and listening to recorded teleseminars, listening to anything that I can grab off the internet that's an MP3 file and putting it in what used to be my iPod, which is now my iPhone. Whenever I do have time on my hands, if I watch my son's soccer practice, if I'm at the doctor to rehabilitate my knee, if I'm at the grocery store, if I'm in my car, all these are what I would call dead time activities, and I can continue my education. And when I first started getting into the Amazon part of my business, I didn't know anything about Amazon, but I needed to figure out how to leverage it pretty quick. I was on a road trip to San Francisco from where I live here in Orange County. It's basically all day up and then another day back. And I found enough content for that entire trip. Let's say it's 14 hours. I listened to experts talk about Amazon, what's something that's called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon. And by the time I got back from San Francisco, and I went up on a Friday and came back on a Sunday, I wasn't necessarily an expert, but I knew probably more than 90% of the people out there. So I just love the fact that I can download expert content on any topic, because people like you and Andrew are putting free content like this out there, whether it's video or audio, for the benefit of people like me, and I do the same thing. And as I mentioned before, we all should serve a higher purpose and help other entrepreneurs, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. But that's only half the equation. It's up to the entrepreneurs to take advantage of that great content, and that's what I do through iTunes.
Lovely. And I wanted to bring a quick point up about that. Literally just the other day, one of our mentors that Andrew and I learned certain things about online marketing from just released an article saying that audio, on his side at least, is definitely attracting some of the most traffic for him. And I think you made a really good point to any business owner out there. The fact is that audio is a powerful tool because it fills the dead space much easier than video somehow. You can listen to it while you're still doing multitasking and doing other things. So good point for all you guys. If you've ever been thinking about doing a podcast, perhaps now is your time. So now, Dan, I'd love to ask you next, what are 3 simple tips that you can share with our viewers and our listeners from all over the world? This can be in your area of expertise, or this can be just overall in business that you've learned. Over to you, 3 simple tips.
Well, I'll keep it consistent with what I've been talking about so far. As I mentioned earlier, keep yourself open to the possibilities. Some people hesitate because they think they have to know exactly what the next step is before they take that step. I never hesitate. I go ahead and take that step, but I tell, some people will say, I tell the universe, you tell whoever, whatever it is you want to call it, but tell that entity that you want to be shown what's next. And you can call it law of attraction, you can call it whatever you want, but just be open to the possibilities, and interesting things will find you if you travel help me with this word, please,
linearly.
Every time I trip on that word, I always say I'm never going to say it again, and then at a moment when I'm broadcasting live, I try to say it again and never succeed. So
in a straight line.
Yeah, perfect. So allow yourself to vector, and if you vector, more opportunities will find you. Second, make sure whatever you're doing, you enjoy. Life is too short not to have passion for what you're doing, and there's been many occasions that I've chosen the path of less financial opportunity in exchange for something that I really enjoy doing, and I'm so glad I did. And you just can't put a price on the value of your time and the value of your spirit in that time. And then one hardcore business tip is do something that's scalable. I talked a little bit about Etsy and how much I love it. I don't know if we'll talk about it anymore, but I have a huge advantage on Etsy versus other sellers because of what I do is scalable. I can ramp up pretty fast, and I can create one or I can create 100. Whereas as other folks that are more artist types, they're creating one-offs. And if it's a hobby, that's great. But if it's a business, you need to be able to scale. So before you jump into something, ask yourself, and whether it's Etsy or something else, whatever it is that you're pursuing as an entrepreneur, is it scalable, or can you only produce X number in an hour, in a day, or in a week?
Yeah, I think it boils down to you selling yourself, your time dollars for hours, and if you're creating something on Etsy that only you can create, and it does take time to build that necklace or build that thing that you're trying to build, it can be really limiting to what scale you can really reach out. So I know scalability is an important part of business, and it's a great point, great few points. Hey, what would be a quote or a mantra that you like to live your life by right now?
Oh, it would have to be the change you want to see in the world or wish to see in the world. I often see it different ways. In fact, that was my first phone case. I engraved, be the change you want to see in the world, and I later engraved another one, be the change you wish to see in the world, so I could have SEO on both of them. But of course, it's the Gandhi quote, and it just means, live into your purpose, live into the moment, and always be an example and a role model for the people around you, especially if you're a parent.
Yeah, great quote. I think, Heather, did I see you wearing a T-shirt with that quote on it the other day?
Yeah, it is one of those ones I've had for quite a while, actually. Yeah, one of my favorites as well. Good on.
Hey, so Dan, what would you like to be known for?
I want to be known being a great dad. I think all of our collective purposes is to prepare the next generation. And if you have the benefit of being a parent, you're already in that place. If you're not, there's a lot of other ways that we can serve our community. But it's just the whole circle of life thing, and especially I think when we reach an age that I think we're all at now in our 40s and beyond, we really start focusing on that element. What is going to bring us fulfillment? I don't think anything brings us more fulfillment than being a leader to a young person. And so that has nothing to do with business. However, I've got a 15-year-old son who is very entrepreneurial and very creative, in part due to my influence, and I just love seeing that reflected back at me, and that elevates my purpose to a higher level.
I remember meeting, I'm not sure if you want me to say
Jackson.
His son's name, but if it's all right, I would say his name, but I remember meeting Jackson 4 years ago when he was just 11, and for those that don't know, he's very creative. He obviously gets it from you. I think he went into a couple of short film competitions, and I saw some of the short films that he created. But Jackson, an 11-year-old kid on stage, he was teaching, this is awesome, he was teaching 400 or 500 people in a room full of people trying to learn how to do internet marketing. He was teaching them all about YouTube and how easy it was to get hundreds of thousands of views on his YouTube channel. He's a really, really inspiring kid, and it's fantastic. Obviously, you're doing a great job because he is a great example of being a good dad. So well done. And I haven't seen any videos of Jackson lately, but I'm sure he's still out there doing that sort of stuff too.
Well, he's studying film in his high school. He's 15 years old and is a film major in high school. What a life, huh? And he goes to a performing arts school here in Orange County. And so he's he's past YouTube. He thinks YouTube is for kids now, and he's a serious filmmaker and focuses on his school competitions.
I'm sure he's great at it.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan, for people that are thinking about getting into e-commerce, because it's definitely the rage right now online, what advice would you have for them? If so, let's say they have zero advice and they're just thinking, yeah, I'm interested in e-commerce. What would you say to them next?
Well, there's a lot of different avenues you can pursue. I'm what's called cross-platform. I can sell my phone cases on Etsy, eBay, Amazon, really any e-commerce site. If you're selling handmade goods or vintage goods, Etsy is a great platform, and you'll have a lot of fun with that. If you don't have that creative element of handmade isn't your thing, then the lowest point of entry is probably eBay, and there's something called thrifting and sourcing, which means you simply go to thrift shops and yard sales in your area and buy things for $0.25 and sell them for $20 on eBay. And there's some people that make a living doing that, or at least earn part-time income. But if you're serious, if you're in the position where you ultimately want to turn replace your income with an e-commerce business, then something called Amazon FBA would be the way to go. And what that means is when a shopper goes on to Amazon, if you read the fine print, it may say fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by merchant. And fulfilled by merchant means me, Dan Safkow, is sending the phone cases directly to the customer that buys it, and Amazon is just the middleman. Fulfilled by Amazon means that they are shipping from their giant warehouses all over the country, and if you're a Prime customer, you're going to get that product in 2 days. I do it both ways. The neat thing about Amazon FBA, it stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, is that I can ship my phone cases, they'll inventory them, and then when they get an order, when their customer orders something, Amazon picks and packs and takes care of everything for me. So that really allows me to scale up quickly, or anybody watching this. So if you find a niche, and it's a little bit eBay-ish in that your niche doesn't always have to be newly manufactured goods. If you find a surplus inventory of something and it has a barcode and it's a consumable product that people are buying, you can send that to Amazon, and Amazon will fulfill that for you. They'll list it, they'll show it, when people buy it, they'll ship it. Some people go to China and have their own private label goods manufactured, and they sell that on Amazon. So the key to that is to figure out what your source is going to be. Some people just do random sourcing. They find surplus goods and things like that, so they're doing something different every week, every month. I don't like that. It doesn't work for me. I like having one product and mastering that product, and then I don't feel in overwhelm if I've got 20 or 30 or 100 different random things going on. So if you're curious about what I'm talking about, just put Fulfilled by Amazon or Amazon FBA, maybe business or business opportunity or how-to in front of it, and you can learn more about what FBA is. But to have Amazon supporting you and behind you and in front of you is just a crazy advantage to all entrepreneurs.
You know, Dan, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't cost you anything to have Amazon fulfill or store all your gear. They make their money when you sell it, so they take a little percentage, right? So you're not paying for storage of the goods either, are you?
Yeah, I forget, Andrew, exactly what the fee structure is. I think there is a tiny storage fee, but I think my phone cases sell on average for about $23, and I think when I get to the end of it, I think I'm paying them about $1 extra for storing, picking, and packing and shipping my goods versus when I fulfill myself. So when I fulfill myself, I have all that labor when Amazon does it. But the real advantage isn't saving that dollar or spending that dollar. The real advantage is that if you're in the EA program, Amazon is going to show your products more often to their Prime customers. So even though all my products appear both ways, I probably sell 5 to 10 times more through FBA than I do just putting my listings side by side on Amazon. The only downside is I tie up inventory every week. I ship another box to Amazon, so my that's not so good for the cash flow. But I know where it is, and I know it's going to sell eventually. So it's a great way to build a business incrementally.
Yeah, and you don't need to have your own garage full of stuff if you use Amazon, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another reason I like selling small stuff. It doesn't take up much storage.
Oh, they do if you buy a lot of them.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll have that problem.
So what's a major life lesson that you've learned over the last, I don't know, 10 years or so?
Well, just as I mentioned, open yourself up to the possibilities. Be aware of what's coming up next. I've got a gift for maybe anticipating things and then being there when they happen. Just having an approach of openness. It's a very dynamic business environment that we're in right now. Things change really fast, and we have to be adaptable to those kind of changes. And I know my own business models change about every 2 years. It seems, and part of me really enjoys that too. I welcome change. I know it's not comfortable for everyone. And another piece of advice would be to try your best just to focus on one thing. Trying to do too many things, like me just a couple of years ago, I had my iPod business, I was speaking at seminars, and I was trying to be an internet marketer. That's a recipe for not being really successful in any of them. I achieved average success in all of them, and now I'm just focused on one thing, and I'm achieving accelerated and success. And so I know there's a lot of serial entrepreneurs out there watching this. So my advice for you is one thing: pick one thing and do it.
I'm reading the book called The One Thing right now, so it's very timely advice. It's very interesting how focusing on one thing can get you so many more results than trying to have 6 or 7 things on the go. So very timely that you bring that up. So Dan, as we wrap this up, where can people find out about your phone cases, and where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, I think my logo is, or not my logo, but my URL, imakethecase.com is where you'll find my fabulous phone cases. If you want to take a look at all the video marketing tips I created over the years, they're still available online. Some of them are dated by now, but if you go to videomarketingminute.com, that will redirect you to my YouTube channel, and you'll see those as well. And if you dig really deep in my YouTube channel, you'll see that video of Jackson that Andrew spoke about, and now I've got the Ice Bucket Challenge on a different channel. And my name is down below as well. I always welcome new friends. I think I've got a room for 2,000 more friends on Facebook, so if you find Dan Safkow there, be sure and friend me up.
Good one. Now, as we wrap up, any last words for our listeners? We'll start with you, Dan, and then we'll move over to you, Andrew.
Well, I appreciate you guys so much for allowing me to share your space here today. I appreciate what you guys are doing for the entrepreneur community, and just focus, tenacity, and everybody has a creative spirit, and if you haven't found yours yet, find it soon.
Nice one. Andrew, you're on mute.
I know. As soon as I speak, it goes ding. Hey, Dan, thanks very much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate you jumping on and sharing some of that information. And as you said, if you want to go and find some phone cases or go and check out some of Dan's great videos, then go and check those out as well. Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it.
You guys are welcome.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Come on over to makeitsimple.tv. Go on over to episode number 23. There's more information about Dan there. We'll have his links and the replay of this episode. And make sure when you're there to sign up so you never miss an amazing episode of ours. We'll see you in the next episode of Make It Simple TV. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.